Former U.S. President Donald Trump's statement that he holds incredible cards, capable of destroying China triggered intense global debate, not merely because of the provocative language he used, but because it touches the heart of one of the most defining rivalries of the 21st century, the United States-China competition for dominance in trade, technology, security, and global influence. To fully understand the depth of this statement, one must consider the backdrop of years of escalating trade wars, mutual tariffs, accusations of intellectual property theft, cyber espionage, currency manipulation, military buildup in the South China Sea, and global competition for alliances in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. Trump has long been known for his blunt and combative rhetoric, often framing America's foreign policy in terms of winning and losing, deal-making, and leverage, and his claim about incredible cards was not necessarily a detailed policy blueprint but rather a signal of the levers of power the U.S. still holds against China, ranging from economic sanctions, restrictions on critical technology exports, financial influence through global banking systems like SWIFT, military presence in Asia, and alliances with regional powers like Japan, South Korea, India, and Australia. Yet his remark cannot be dismissed as simple bravado because the underlying U.S.-China rivalry is built on real structural tensions. America views China's meteoric economic rise, its Belt and Road Initiative, its dominance in manufacturing, its advances in artificial intelligence and 5G, and its aggressive push for global influence as existential threats to U.S. primacy, while China views America's encirclement strategy, its military bases in the Pacific, its support for Taiwan, and its restrictions on Chinese tech firms like Huawei as attempts to contain China's rightful rise. When Trump said he could destroy China with cards he has not yet played, analysts speculated he was referring to America's control of advanced semiconductor technologies, which are essential for everything from smartphones to missiles, as well as the ability to impose devastating financial sanctions that could cut China off from the U.S. dollar-dominated global financial system. Others believe his words might signal a willingness to expand military deterrence in the South China Sea or deepen support for Taiwan, moves that Beijing would consider highly provocative. The timing of the statement is also critical. Global tensions are rising, economic uncertainty persists after the pandemic disruptions, supply chains are being reorganized, and nations worldwide are being forced to pick sides in the U.S.-China rivalry. For many allies, Trump's message reinforced the notion that America still has unmatched tools of influence, but for others it raised concerns about reckless escalation, as talk of destroying China could destabilize markets, inflame nationalist sentiments, and even trigger dangerous miscalculations. Trump's style of diplomacy, often described as maximum pressure, combined with unpredictability, was a hallmark of his presidency, and while critics argue that such rhetoric alienates partners and risks unnecessary conflict, his supporters claim that this blunt approach forced adversaries to take America seriously and brought hidden leverage into play. In practical terms, the U.S. does hold many incredible cards, including the dominance of the U.S. Navy across global sea lanes, the attractiveness of the American market to global exporters, control over key financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank, as well as leadership in high-tech industries like aerospace, biotechnology, and cloud computing. China, on the other hand, also has powerful countercards. It is the world's largest trading nation, the biggest holder of U.S. debt, the main supplier of critical rare earth minerals essential for electronics, and a rising leader in green energy technologies like solar panels and electric vehicles. This means that while Trump's statement made headlines, the reality is more complex. Neither side can destroy the other without suffering catastrophic consequences themselves, a concept political scientists call mutually assured economic destruction. Still, the phrase incredible cards resonates with Trump's persona as a dealmaker who always suggests he has hidden leverage, secret strategies, or unconventional tactics up his sleeve, keeping opponents guessing. To ordinary observers, this remark might sound like typical political showmanship, but to diplomats, investors, and military strategists, it signaled once again the volatility of U.S.-China relations and the uncertainty about how far rhetoric could translate into actual policy moves. The global community is watching carefully, as every new twist in the U.S.-China rivalry affects global trade flows, technological innovation, defense spending, and even cultural exchanges. Trump's declaration has sparked renewed debate over decoupling, the idea of reducing dependence on Chinese manufacturing and supply chains, and has revived discussions in Washington about reshoring industries, investing in domestic semiconductor production, and strengthening partnerships with like-minded democracies to counterbalance Beijing's rise. In Beijing, the statement was likely viewed as both a threat and a confirmation of long-standing suspicions that America's ultimate goal is to block China's path to superpower status. Whether Trump's cards are economic, military, or diplomatic, the mere suggestion of their existence underscores how fragile and confrontational the bilateral relationship has become. Over time, historians may see this moment as part of a larger narrative where rhetoric, rather than calming tensions, further entrenched hostility and suspicion between two of the world's most powerful nations. The phrase, "destroy China," might never be realized literally, but it reflects the deep anxiety within the U.S. political class about losing dominance and the equally deep resolve in China to resist external pressure and continue its rise. As global observers, one must recognize that these verbal bombshells, even if exaggerated, can have ripple effects. Markets react, alliances shift, ordinary people's perceptions harden, and the risk of misunderstanding grows. Trump's words, therefore, were not just about cards in a metaphorical poker game but about the fate of a global order balancing precariously between cooperation and confrontation, with the potential to shape the coming decades.